Come on in here. Come on in here, y'all. Come on in here. Come on in here. Come on in here. What's up, y'all? Oh, what's up, J Marcase? I ain't seen you in a minute. What's up, Ebony? Quan? C. Vesey? Thank you for everybody that came into my reading earlier. Reading Michael Jackson. Man, I miss Michael Jackson. But y'all saw when I read that 3 clubs of Michael Jackson spread, I talked to y'all how about he approached his music from a very militaristic point of view in his videos. One point that I forgot to mention is the fact that if you look at how Michael Jackson dressed, he always dressed like a soldier. That's why he always had that arm patch. Like Michael Jackson always had like an armband around, like in that same spot the Nazi people would have their shit around their arm. But of course he wouldn't have a Nazi logo. He'd have some peaceful shit. Michael Jackson was a true warrior, man. Man, I miss Michael Jackson. What's up, Scotty Jenkins? What's up, last name first? Frank Green. But today I'm talking about dealing with dummies that think contributing, and creating are the same thing. I was watching a little bit. For those, you said the cast makes sense for me, for you, yeah. Hell yeah. See, Quan, I remember, yeah, this is a 9 of Diamonds week. 9 of Diamonds is that's family problems. And in this 9 of Diamonds week, we about to have some really big, like Fat Joe coming out copping pleas and talking about trying to explain himself. That's just a start. We about to have some more shit like that. It's about to be a lot of family fighting between Black America this week. I think by Wednesday or Thursday, we're going to look up and be like, yo. And if you have family out there and y'all have some tension and y'all fighting, just know that this is a 9 of Diamonds week. And 9 of Diamonds is family disputes. It's also family wins, too. 9 of Diamonds if 9 of Diamonds in the right position could also mean reparations, so. Because what's the point of fighting? The point of fighting is to repair. You fight to deal with the damage that was caused in hopes of repairing. Think about it like this for a second. Just say for those of you who are into sewing, right? Sewing and sewing up you ripped a piece of your pants and you got to sew it back together. Well, the rip is the friction that the fight is about, right? What happens when you sew together a piece of material that's been ripped? You got to tug and pull and line it up and get it straight. And you got to stick needles through it. And if you think about it on a small level, everything on a micro level, that's a violent process. Repairing a rift is a violent process. You have to tug the material back together. It's already been ripped apart, so now the new comfort zone is the rift. You have to tug it back together. You got to bring in a third party, a needle, and you got to stick it through both sides and stick it and stick it and stick it until it's mended together. And after the violence of repeated sticking is done, the rip or rift in the material that was once there is now reunified and put back together. See, these people that go around talking about we all need to come together and We shouldn't have any violence, and we shouldn't be so mean to each other, and all that shit's necessary on certain levels. All of it. Excuse me. Somebody told me I'd be coughing too much on here. I'm telling you right now, this good ass weed I be smoking, you can guarantee goddamn tea I'm gonna be coughing. You dig? Well, anyway, the mending process can oftentimes be violent. And that's what we're dealing with as a people right now. There's been a rift in the black diaspora. And it's been a rift for a long time, right? And the Nine of Diamonds is a card of the black diaspora. All right? The rift has been caused. Now, it's time to mend that rift. And mend doesn't necessarily mean coming together with them. Mend may, in this situation, mean us coming together with ourselves. And this issue that's going on with this third party, Caribbeans, Africans, the issue going on with that is in this rift, the fighting, the infighting, the back and forth, the tussle is what's going to mend Black America back together again. And once we're mended as a people, other groups, they'll go into mending their subgroup within the black diaspora. And through everyone healing their own wounds, that's when the grand unity will come. When that grand unity will come, we're probably about 500 years away from that shit. We just entered into the age of Aquarius. We're at the minimum of 200 to 300 years away from all that shit coming together. But right now, people have to heal where they are. Black Americans, we have to heal ourselves. Jamaicans have to heal themselves. Puerto Ricans have to heal themselves. Black America's at a point right now to where we're healing ourselves. And Black America's been very, 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 very focused on healing ourselves really since about 2013, 2014, towards the end of that Obama presidency, when black people started to realize that whole thing was a scam. The last couple of years he was in office. That's when the healing, that's when black people, before that we were all searching for a president. We were looking for something outside of us to heal ourselves. After president, the beauty of the Obama presidency was black folks realizing that there is no healer on the outside. The healer is us from within. That's what we realized. We realized that we the healer. And we've been on that process of healing ourselves. Insert this last year, these last few months. Insert black people from the Caribbean and Latin Americans trying to lay claim to black American music. That outside threat is causing black people to look even further and deeper within. That's the big picture of what's going on. That's big picture. When I narrow it in more, as we're coming through this process of healing ourselves, these people making this move, again, like I said before, I think it's a directive from the top. I don't think Fat Joe Busta Rhymes, they're not smart enough to do this on their own. They don't have balls like that. This to me, I don't know. I don't know behind closed doors. I can't read a crystal ball. But just with the confidence that Joe and Busta speaking with, it sounds like the confidence of people who have a white person behind them. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like the confidence, they're speaking with the confidence of a melanated person that got a white person backing them. Y'all know that sound. These motherfuckers sound like Hoppin' Bob on Life. In the state of Mississippi. Y'all remember on Life? You tell these people in the state of Mississippi, you got that line. And here, if you walk past that line, in the state of Mississippi, Hoppin' Bob. That's how Fat Joe and Busta Rhymes sound. The nigga that got a white person backing them. Remember, and we all know that look when a white person, it's like the motherfucker, remember when we was in school, the hall monitor kid? The kid that was a hall monitor, when y'all be on recess and just kind of be out there, you beat that nigga's ass. Oh, but the minute Miss Simmons says, I want you to be the hall monitor, little Larry. All right. The minute Miss Simmons give little punk Larry the job of hall monitor, and little Larry know that he got the school's backing and Miss Simmons backing. Oh, he go from the little kid that you slap around and you pick last when it's time to play kickball. He always the last one kick because he's weak as hell. But the minute that authority, give them a little bit of authority. Miss Simmons gave them a little bit of authority. Now Fat Joe looking like Cartman's running around talking about something. Respect my authority. Remember that episode of South Park? When Cartman was a cop? Respect my authority. That's Fat Joe. Respect my authority. So we seeing these two clowns get put out there, not understanding that the minute they're thoroughly defeated, which they will be, because they've awoken the sleeping giant that is Black America, they gonna be left alone. And them same white folks that put that battery in their back, once them white folks realize that these motherfuckers are ineffective at what they doing, they're gonna leave them out to dry and go on to the next one to try it. But Ice Cube told you, 1991, he said pretty soon rap won't have no ice cubes, just vanilla ice. Ice Cube said that 31 years ago. That motherfucker a prophet. So you got these people, because what Fat Joe is doing and what Busta Rhymes is doing is they're conflating contribution and creation. Difficult for a lot of these dumbass hip hop fans. Contribution, 4 syllables. Creation, 3 syllables. Got a 4-syllable and a 3-syllable word. To think about how confusing that is to a nigga who the only time he could talk about music is who's your top 5. Think about how confused them niggas is between the words contribution and creation. You be like, man, I like that song. Who your top 5? And then you be like, such and such, such and such, such and such, and such and such. And they be like, man, you a hater. You ain't got Jay-Z in your top. Oh, you asked me for my top 5. Why you arguing with me over my top 5? Think about them kind of lame brain niggas. The kind of niggas that will argue with you over your top 5. You think they understand the difference between contribution and creation? Think about that. What's up, G Mars? Do y'all really think these idiots that when it's time to talk about music, they don't know anything before Rakim? They think that all them bad boy beats was original. These are the niggas that are arguing contribution over creation. Let's make it clear. Let me give a clear definition, and then we'll go from there. Creation. Creation is to bring into existence that did not wish before you brought it into existence. Creation. That's creation. That thing that you're doing in its form didn't exist, and this group brought it into existence. Contribution. Once that thing is in creation, is being created, people can then come along and contribute and add to which was already created. Example. Some white boy and a bunch of motherfuckers created YouTube. It wasn't just one, it was a team of white boys created YouTube. Didn't exist in 1996. I know. I had a computer. 1997, I had just got my brand new iMac. That first generation iMac, 233 megahertz was the processing speed. 233 megahertz. And then I really thought I was a shit when I upgraded to that 350 megahertz iMac. I had that iMac that had that candy colored thing it was in. When I was on that, there was no YouTube. YouTube didn't exist. Now YouTube is a thing, and it's a major thing. I personally signed up for YouTube not too long after it was brought into existence and made big. I started posting videos on YouTube in like 2012, and then I wouldn't post another video for like 2015, and then I posted like 5 videos in 2015, and then I didn't post any more videos for like 2017, and then like in 2018, and then in 2019 I would post like 1 video every other month, and then in 2020, June 2020, I decided to start posting at least once a week, if not more. And now I'm over 400 videos into YouTube, and I've been around for well over 10 years. That makes me a contributor to YouTube. YouTube is going to be a multi-billion-dollar platform with or without my contribution. I appreciate everybody in here for digging my contribution to YouTube. I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all appreciate me. But just because I got a couple thousand people that like what the fuck I say on here, just because I've been on here for 10 years, just because I got 400 some odd goddamn videos on here, doesn't mean that I created YouTube. I contributed to YouTube. You dig? You dig? I am a contributor to YouTube, not a creator. Same goes for this whole who created hip hop thing. First of all, hip hop has no start date. That day that they give it is just a day that Kool Herc threw a party outside. Well, if Kool Herc had enough of a following to throw a party outside, logic tells me he was throwing those parties inside or somewhere else before that day. That day, he just happened to move a party he had been running. That wasn't Kool Herc's first time DJing, right? It wasn't his first party he threw, right? So if it wasn't his first time DJing, it wasn't his first time throwing a party. That tells you he'd thrown many parties before that. And let's not to skip that. That's just going playing devil's advocate for the people who call it Herc's thing. Let's go ahead and add the fact that he's not the first to throw that style of party with the extended break beats. That just happened today to be the day that his party got recognized in the city of New York. So they give it a start date. Well, we know that there's no start date because we got the Watts Prophets rapping on motherfucking wax in 1969, 1971. We got James Brown rapping. James Brown really is the one that extended the break beat for people who know jazz. So what? When he extended the break on So What and looped it with his band. The blues, when you listen to Howlin' Wolf, listen to the song Smokestack Lightning by Howlin' Wolf. A doon 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 doon. That's what it plays the whole song. That's how it starts. That's how it ends. Doon 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 doon. So a breakbeat loop playing over and over and over again is standard. That's the blues. All black music, all American music, all world music now is an extension of the blues. So when you talk about extending a breakbeat, it's just somebody imitating on record what bands been doing. The wrinkle that R&B brought was to bring in more orchestration and more variety to the blues. Because the blues would really have you on that hook. A doom 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 doom. A breakbeat. R&B just put some layers on top of it and made it a little more lush and a little more variety, a lot more movement. But black Americans is always, that's why when Kool Herc said that, when he found that, in his words, he found that when he extended the breakbeat, the people responded. Why? I'll tell you why. Because that style has always worked with black people. Fool. That's why James Brown hit so hard. When James Brown came out with that, I don't care, do about your mind, do. That's So What from Miles Davis. The okay. Dun 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 dun. James Brown heard that dun dun. But instead of sampling, he just had he basically had his horn section sample that Miles Davis and Coltrane, dun, dun, and then change the beat up. I don't care, dun, 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 about your dun, dun. Y'all see the same thing? I just want dun, dun. When I talk music, I break things down to the most common denominator. Isn't that what they tell us to do in fractions? I mean, to the least common, I said most common, to the least common denominator. We break it all down. You don't end it at 12 over 24. You don't end it at 6 over 12. You break it down till it gets to 1 over 2. Anything less is not a proper answer. So when we get into, okay, he extended the break beat. Okay, cool. Ask yourself, what is the break beat? Since hip hop doesn't have its own original soundtrack, whatever terms used to attribute to hip hop, whatever terms used come from previous forms of music, especially in the early days of its inception. The break beat, that's just a piece of the song that gets vamped over and over and over again. That's all a breakbeat is. It's a section of music that's vamped. That's why I know a lot of people that be talking, how you a rapper? You don't even know music. You don't know what a vamp is? A breakbeat is just a piece of music vamped. James Brown vamped. So what? That was, and then the break in the beats. James Brown, that's another person. Again, the break beat. When you pop that snare and go back and listen to that song, get up off of that thing and dance till you get better. There's a part where there's a break. All a break is a break in the beat. That's all it is. That's all it is. A break. I love playing breaks because breaks change the tenor and the tone of a song. Breaks are used usually when the drummer pops the snare or accents on the cymbal or the hi-hat. Sometimes both. Dun, dun. When on that same song, when James Brown goes, dun, 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 those are breaks. Dun, dun, dun. And we go back to the song, get up off of that thing. Doom, 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 doom. Then you go, then you reverse it. It's just breaking the momentum of the song. That's all a break is. Is breaking the momentum of a song. So when you extend the break, you're doing what already has been done in basically every form of black music that precedes it. The only difference is, instead of doing it with a band, you're doing it with a record. That's the only difference. Instead of doing it with a band, you're doing it with a record. But you're doing what's been done before. You're not doing anything new. You're just doing it with a record. And extending the break, yes, there's a lot of hip-hop, especially early hip-hop, that rapped over that. But then you had bands like Houdini. Houdini didn't extend the break, and they're out of New York too. But Houdini will play a song and rap over it. What? Is it now not hip-hop because the break? There's no extended break. There's an actual song with a melody. Does that now? Because if the break beat was an essential element of hip-hop, that would mean any music done without a break beat isn't hip-hop, right? That's logic. We got to break this shit down to logic. One side has to equal the other. If it no longer has a break beat, if it's a Kanye West production, or if it's a DJ Quick production where it's a full-on song, if it's a Kendrick Lamar To Pimp a Butterfly. To Pimp a Butterfly had almost no break beats on it. To Pimp a Butterfly was musical. Is that not hip hop? Because there's no break beats extended? Too Short. These are the tales, the freaky tales. These are the tales that I tell so well. You don't like my dirty raps, you can go to hell. That song Cocktails. Cocktails didn't have an extended break beat. Shit, Ant Banks put a band together for that Cocktails album. Is that not hip hop? There's no extended break beat. Doom, 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 doom. See, these little things that they're trying to tell you make the core of hip hop really come down to a specific era, but nothing as core and essential to hip hop. The only core essential element to hip hop is Black American culture, Black American music stylings, Black American music structure. That's the only core element to hip hop, is Black America. Why? I'll give you the proof. Because, and those of you who listen know I say this all the time, and I'm keep saying it, I say it until people can get it turned blue in the face. All of our music comes with a style of dress, a particular calligraphy, a food, usually. It comes with its own slang, and it comes with its own beat to it. All those things that they say, okay, hip hop, you got graffiti. All right, okay, so does bebop. Man, hip hop, you got a solid dress. It's a hip hop wear dress. Well, yeah, rural blues has a style of dress too. Delta blues has a different style of dress than rural blues. Memphis blues has a different style of dress than Chicago blues. Okay. Swing had a style of dress. Bebop had a style of dress. Funk has a style of dress. Disco definitely has a style of dress. Them fucking platforms. What's the common denominator in all of this? Black culture. Y'all see how that works? All these other elements and things that people like to bring up, I can point out to you where hip hop is still the music and the culture without those particular things. B-boying. If somebody stood in front of you and B-boy right now, you slap them. If you don't get that old ass dance out my face, nigga, fuck out my face with that shit. And cut your shag too while you at it. You can have hip hop without b-boying. You can have hip hop without sound systems. You can have hip hop without break beats. But you can't have hip hop without black culture. Hey, G Mars, I'm with you, man. People trigger me too. I can't really listen to them. I only listen to them for y'all. Real talk, J Mac. I only listen to them so I can come back and talk to y'all. I don't like listening to them. I was listening to some dude, and I like his channel, this dude named Carcino. I like his YouTube channel overall. But this motherfucker's talking about the people that was talking against Fat Joe like her in their 20s. Like, nigga, no. I think he's a very smart dude. He has very dope content. But when I was listening to him talk, I said, he don't know the difference between creation and contribution. Like, I understand both words start with a C, but they're very different, sir. They're very different, Fat Joe, Busta Rhymes. They're different words. with different meanings. To create. To create is to bring something into existence that wasn't there before. That was all done by black people, 100% of it. Everything they say Kool Herc did, we can name a black person that did it before him. And when he extended the breaks, no disrespect to him, but he was doing he's a good DJ. He saw when he did that, his fans liked it. So being the Kool Herc is a true professional. A true professional gives his fans what they want. Y'all tell me y'all like these late night Q&As. So I'll fucking do them. Enough of y'all tell me y'all like my car readings. And now my car reading sessions, I'm already knowing I'm not going to get the big numbers as is. I'd have to reach for a whole different audience if I wanted big numbers on my cardology readings. But for the people who do say that they like my live readings, I make sure I do readings once a week. Because you motherfuckers like it. Y'all like Dr. Randy Short. So guess what? I give you Dr. Randy Short. Y'all like when I talk about certain topics. I try to talk about what the fuck I think. I know that y'all like. Now there are times, and I still, anything that I do that y'all like, I like doing it too, because I gotta please myself. But there are times that I'll talk about certain issues that I really don't give a fuck about. But I know y'all do, and y'all be wanting my opinion. So I fucking give it to you. Not because I'm a goddamn genius. It's because that's simple. If people spend their time, the most precious thing you can give somebody is their time. Your time. Now, I appreciate when y'all, because I do, nigga, I would appreciate if y'all buy some Black Music Family Tree merch. If y'all donate to the Cash App, fuck yeah, I appreciate that. Nigga, money be up and down sometimes. Shit, that shit goes a long way. And I put it back, mostly I put that shit right back into this. I invest a lot of money into this. But more importantly than money, y'all give me y'all time. Somebody made a comment. I was happy. Dude, they saw my video with Dr. Randy Short yesterday. It was 4 hours, and somebody made a comment, said they watched all 4 hours. And I was just like, man, I had nothing but gratitude in my heart. Because if you spend $75 on 2 or 3 t-shirts, you can make that $75 back. But if you dedicate 4 hours or 2 hours or 30 minutes or 5 minutes or 1 minute listening to me, you can't get that back. So my way of honoring your time is to hopefully make you laugh and make you think. I want to give you something you can walk away with and maybe give you something you can learn. A lot of you niggas are smart, so y'all ain't learning shit from me. So I'm more so making you think. I'm making you laugh. That's me honoring you giving me your time. Kool Herc is a good DJ. A damn good DJ. His patrons, the people who offered him his time, liked when he extended the breakbeat. So he kept doing it. Who were the patrons? Who were the people listening to the music and dancing? What music were they playing? And there you identify the culture that's being represented. The people were Black Americans. 99.9% of them. There may have been one slick-haired Puerto Rican somewhere, but it wasn't many. It was the black people that liked it. Why? You think 99 in a place where it may be 300 black people and 2 Puerto Ricans, The two Puerto Ricans go, the two Puerto Ricans are the ones that like the extended break beat, that's why the DJ did it? Or do you think it was the other 298 black people who liked the extended break beat? So if they're the ones that gave him an emotional response to what he did, that means he's doing his job to please their culture. Whose music is he extending breakbeats on? Is he extending the breakbeat on a Bob Marley album? Is he extending the breakbeat on the Wailers cut? Or is he extending the breakbeat over a Curtis Mayfield or a James Brown track? So, deductive reasoning. The music being played is the culture of the homeland that he's standing on. The people responding to the move that he made are born of the culture of the land that he's standing on, whose culture is being represented in that moment. You did? These niggas racing in the parking lot. I hope y'all hit each other. Man, y'all ever be wanting the police to be somewhere? Man, I wish the police was here to see that so they could pull these niggas over. Come on, cops. Man, where the police at? Right now, I'm drinking out my elements. See this here? This is a clone. This is a clone 215. Clones are my favorite. I'm sorry, 115. Clone, whenever you can find a California Central Coast clone wine, a clone 115, shit. Stored in they work good stored in them steel barrels. Cause usually I like oak barrels, but these clones be stored in steel. Some good ass fucking wine right here. Well, anyway, back to what I was saying. You gotta break things down. And that's where the truth is. In the lowest common denominator. That's where the truth is. 3/4. Not 75/100. Gotta break it down to 3/4. Gotta break it down to 75%. That's what you gotta do. Let's take it a step further. Let's take it a step further. Let's go deeper. Kool Herc arrived on the shores of America when? As a child. How can a child know dance hall culture? Unless you're telling me in Jamaica that 6-year-olds are out at 2 a.m. in dance hall parties. Now, if you tell me that, then I'm going to question the moral fabric of your culture. If 6-year-olds are out at dance hall parties at the age of 7. If you have two things, either he was doing what kids do at that age, or he was at dance hall parties. And if he's at 7 years old at dance hall parties, then I question the moral fabric of your culture. Which one is it? Say he is at dance halls in Jamaica at 6 years old. Say he is. These parties he started in America, he's much older. Is he remembering going back to his youth and doing what he remembered back then? Or is he looking at the party scene, seeing what the people already like when he goes to these Disco King Mario parties? Is he already looking at the lay of the land, seeing what the people like, and jumping in the pocket of what the people like? Which one is it? Which one is more likely, I should say? Is it more likely he's throwing back to his youthful days as a 5-year-old, going to Jamaican dance hall parties at the tender age of 3? Is he reckoning and flashing back to the age of 5.5 at Jamaican dance hall parties? Or is he here in the United States and he's seeing the trends going around, and is he doing his best job to fit in and do what the people who go to these parties like the most? What's more likely? You dig? What's up, Mir 2500? Red Williams? Yeah, Quan said I sound like Pops on House Party. Ha 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 ha. Calling the police. What's up, Jordan? What's up, Spud? I appreciate that, Taylor Anderson. What's up, Afro Elite, B. Taylor, Rob? But we just have to break it down to what's more likely than not. And then when you break it down to what's more likely than not, then you layer it with what Kool Herc has already said. He said that he was just doing what his customers wanted. Kool Herc said that he didn't bring anything new to Black America. So his own words, Kool Herc's words, verify the circumstantial evidence. You dig? So, what's more accurate? What's more likely? The circumstantial evidence matching the first-hand stories of Kool Herc, or a retelling of the story 49 years later by a Puerto Rican and a Jamaican? What's more likely to be true? The first-hand story of the person that they credit for hip-hop, matching the circumstantial evidence, using what's more likely than not as the barometer or the indication of which way to focus your thoughts? Or some guy that had 1 or 2 hits 20 years ago, and another guy who got his name from an American football player. His best music has been samples from American funk records. And who basically never told us he was Jamaican until 17 months ago. What I'm saying, here's the reason why I frame it like this to you guys. I want to do my best to not be the echo chamber. You know, I know there are going to be people out here who treat what I do as an echo chamber just to confirm what they believe, and that's fine. I don't see any issues with that because there's so much fucking weird shit out there. it's good to have an echo chamber on certain levels. But I frame my discussions like this so for those who are in the echo chamber, to where if you ever left the echo chamber, the reasoning will still stand. And for those of you who just kind of scan through my channel and listen to me every now and again, I'm sure there are about 10 or 15 people listening right now who don't really fuck with this channel like that. They don't really know it like that. You may not even be subscribed. But, you know, it's late, you're at work, you're doing something, you want to hear somebody talk. Whether you're that person, and there may be 2 or 3 people who are listening who can't stand my ass. They're just waiting for me to say something inflammatory so they can take a copy of it and go on Twitter or bring it to their little punk ass YouTube channel and talk about me. Those are the 3 different people that's in the room right now. But whether you're person 1 or 2, or even 3, if 3 ever decide to open their mind, you can take what I'm saying, I'm breaking it down in a way that you can answer your own, draw your own conclusion. You know, I'm not telling you to believe me and I'm always right. I'm more so telling you how I think and how I draw my conclusions. When I see shit, look, I'm the kind of person that probably gives the least amount of fucks than you ever wanted to believe. I don't have too many things I'm fixed on. I'm not a fixated thinker. I'm not 10 toes in the ground with my point of view. Like, I'm always right. Like some people out there who are very stubborn, especially if you're either Leo, if you're a card, a lot of clubs. I'm a club, but a lot of clubs and diamonds, you know, especially you spades niggas. I know it all. Me, I'm more so just kind of look at shit and analyze it. And I'd be like, okay, the left is more likely than the right in this scenario. And then I look at the next scenario, I'll be like, the right is more likely right than the left. And then I look at the next scenario, I'll be like, those 2 things are even. I kind of just let the information inform my conclusion. I don't really have a conclusion. I let the info. So when I talk about race, when I talk about music history and stuff like that, that's me allowing the conclusion to answer itself for me. I think I told you guys this before. The way I drew the conclusion between hip hop and jazz, that wasn't nothing I was looking for. When I first took my music classes, I was playing the drums, and that was an easy elective. I figured since it was music, and I got some hard classes coming up this semester, if I take this music class, I can at least get an A or a B worst case scenario, especially if they let me do essay questions. If everything's an essay answer, it's a wrap. I got an A in that motherfucker. But they do scantrons, fill in the blanks, all right, then I can at least get a B in that motherfucker, or a high C. But I won't have to work that hard. That was my intention for enrolling in music classes. A class that I wouldn't have to work that hard for to get an A. It was listening to that jazz, my professor, Mr. Keith Fiedmont. He's still alive, and I see him every now and again. He lived not too far from my parents. Every now and again, I'll see him driving past my parents' house. Mr. Keith Fiedmont. Although I haven't seen him in years. And, well, I saw him last year at the Hollywood Bowl, because usually he's playing with somebody's band at the Hollywood Bowl. So I did see him last year at the Hollywood Bowl. Mr. Keith Fiedmont, one of the best teachers I ever had. In jazz class, he's just teaching me the character. He's just teaching us, not me, but us. We were going from Scott Joplin ragtime to Louis Armstrong of the 20s, to the swing of the 30s and 40s, to the bebop of the 50s and the 60s. And as we're learning these different forms of jazz, in class, my teacher showing me like, yeah, and when bebop came, they in the swing they were wearing the big suits, and bebop came, they came to more of the single-breasted style with the thin, and then bebop, you had this was how, this is the calligraphy, the more Art Deco look became synonymous with, the swing era, and the Art Deco look, the writing, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of like in hip hop, graffiti, in swing. It was a single, the thin suit with the thin tie. In hip hop, it's airbrushed overalls. So in my head, as I'm listening in class, I'm drawing these conclusions. I'm like, I'm not drawing conclusions yet. I'm seeing the similarities between hip hop and jazz. Then I took another class on the blues, and I'm saying in the blues, there's a certain song structure, and I'm saying that the song structure of the blues is a song structure that America still uses to this day, whether that be R&B or hip hop, rap. When I talk about bars, the storytelling art of a rap song is the same as the storytelling art of the blues, because the blues created the format of the storytelling art of a song. And the all American music, whether it be country, R&B, jazz, all of it is structured in the format that the blues gave us. And I'm seeing this. And I'm starting to now draw connections. I'm like, man, everything they telling me about blues and jazz, I can say about hip hop rap. Then we get further into the class, and I take a different class, and we're talking about the different regions of jazz. I'm learning about. Then I watch a bunch of documentaries, but I'm learning about, how jazz progressed out of New Orleans, and then how you had a Kansas City style, and how the Kansas City style was slightly different than the Chicago style of jazz. And then the Chicago style of jazz was slightly different in New York. New York had a different style of jazz than LA. And then we broke it down to New York jazz and the hard bop era that really comes out of New York. Bebop comes out of Kansas City, but when it evolves into hard bop, that's in New York. Very hard edge. And I'm thinking like, damn, rap out of New York is very hard edge and aggressive. Just like hard bop. Now in my own mind, I'm drawing a connection like, damn, everything they said about New York style hard bop can be said about New York style rap and New York style funk. BT Express. BT Express and the Mob Squad. What's it, the Mob? I'm high, y'all, and I've been talking a lot. The Mob Squad, the people who did Ice Cube's America's Most Wanted, the Bomb Squad. Bomb Squad and BT Express all have a similar line of aggression in their music. And then we get into talking about LA jazz and cool jazz. Miles Davis' Birth of the Cool. Very wide open, similar to the, and mind you, at the same time I'm in this jazz class, I'm also taking anthropology classes. And my anthropology, I'm no fool. I didn't take classes just for grades. I was in them motherfuckers really trying to learn something. And I'm able to, and one of the gifts that God gave me is the ability to synthesize information. So during the same time, I'm in anthropology classes. And we're talking about how to identify culture and how to trace culture and how to, the difference between cultural appropriation and cultural exchange. Cultural appropriation is when a more dominant society, sees a culture of a less dominant society and takes their culture and doesn't give them credit in return. That's what cultural appropriation. Cultural exchange is when two cultures are on an equal level and they're exchanging information, they're exchanging norms, they're exchanging quid pro quo. I give, you give. I take, you take. It's an even exchange. That's cultural exchange. And there is some level of cultural exchange between the Caribbean and America. There's some levels of it on certain levels. Not when it comes to the creation of anything, well, other than when we create their sounds, because Dizzy Gillespie, Horace Silver, these are the people who made the biggest bossa nova records before people from those countries did, and salsa, and I can. But after, black people, we don't swing our dicks, because when the black man pulls his dick out in front of the rest of them, it's the elephant nose versus the goddamn pit bull tail, the snub nose tail. It ain't no match. Ours scrape the ground. So black men, we generally don't pull it out, because we know once we do, the party's over. So we just let people talk. But if we put it out, we can just totally erase everything that they hold true and cherish that they thought they invented. But it's no point in going there. Well, it's about to be a point pretty soon. But right now, for this discussion, I'm not. Black culture, when it comes to what we contribute, what we created in the music, there are exchanges where we'll go and we'll do an album or two. Herbie Hancock is great at this. Herbie Hancock is great at doing albums where he travels the world and synthesizes some of their music with our music. That's cultural exchange. Ooh, that was a big hit right there. Shit. Whew. I hit it kind of hard right there. Damn. But so I'm really getting down in. I'm taking a lot of anthropology classes. At the same time, I'm taking a lot of music classes, while my major is comm studies, communication studies. So my degree is in communicating the information that I have gathered. My degree is in teaching me, one, how to gather the information. That's why anthropology classes were so prevalent within my major. And I took extra classes. I graduated with 40 more units than I needed to graduate with. I was really in that shit to learn. So I'm putting all of this information together. On one hand, during these formative years of my development in late teens, early 20s, I'm learning how to gather information and synthesize it and present it and communicate it in a way for people to understand. Along with naturally me being the king of clubs, I'm already a naturally good communicator. But I scientifically know how to communicate my ideas and thoughts, because that's what I went to college to learn. I'm one of the few people whose liberal arts degree worked out in their favor. 8 out of 10 of you niggas with the liberal arts degree ain't doing none of that shit that you was doing in school. I'm lucky. I use my liberal arts degree effectively. So I'm in these music classes learning, seeing these connections. So at the time I'm learning how to identify culture, I'm applying that shit to what I'm learning in music. And again, I never thought that I'd be talking to you niggas about this. There wasn't no fucking YouTube in 2001 when I'm in these classes. I'm mostly doing this for myself, because I love music so much. I'm a drummer, and I fucking love music. Music is my heart and soul, man. Y'all don't understand. I don't know if you understand how much I love this bitch named music. So I want to know everything about her. You know how it is when you're in love with a woman. You want to know everything about her. Music is a woman. She's the queen of my soul. Like, so I want to know everything about her. I always have. It wasn't, it was, for me, it was never about, it was never no agenda behind it. It was never about me becoming some music historian. I put that in my bio because some of y'all started calling me a music historian. And I take validation from the people 10, 15,000 times over a fucking college degree. And the reason why you guys gave me the label music historian is because you niggas went and looked up what I said. I earned that from y'all. I give y'all information, and y'all be like, man, let me see what the fuck this nigga talk about. And then you look me up and you see that I'm right. Because I only tell you what I fundamentally understand. If I don't understand it, I don't talk to you guys about it. It's a lot that I don't understand. But if I don't understand it, I'm not going to talk to y'all about it. I'm going to avoid the topics that I don't understand. But if I decide to bring it up as a topic, you better know I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Because I get embarrassed when I'm wrong. You want to fuck with my ego? Prove me wrong. Man, it'd be, man, if somebody, as much as I be talking to, if somebody prove me wrong, I'm gonna have a hard time sleeping that night. But if you just call me a hater, I'm like, oh, I'm just dealing with a dumb nigga. Keep moving. That don't mean shit to me right there. Oh, Dwan, you just hating. Oh, okay. I'm just dealing with an idiot right now that doesn't know how to handle the cognitive dissonance they're currently experiencing. That's what. So let me tell y'all right now. If you're one of the people out there that think calling me a hater or saying that, oh, you just hating on New York, or you just hating on Latin and Caribbeans, understand this. The minute you type that, my conclusion is, oh, I'm dealing with a nigga with a first grade mode of thinking. This nigga still ain't. This nigga is 2 months out of kindergarten, mentally. Because people that use their brain don't ever say you hating. Only people that say you hating are people that are hurt emotionally, but they ain't got shit to tell you that you wrong, so they just say you hating. At that point, I know I'm dealing with a mental midget, and I don't care anymore. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'm done. But now, if you prove me wrong and you got evidence, if somebody said no, here is evidence of Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico in 1966 doing this thing we call hip hop, I'm not gonna sleep that night. I'm gonna be like, damn, that nigga really got me. It was some Puerto Rican named Manuel Marquez had a song called Refried Beans and Rice, and he was really flowing. Them niggas was dancing on the one. If somebody came in and said, here's a record from Jamaica in 1972, and some niggas rapping like Busta Rhymes, and it's some ganja smoking dreadlock nigga that produced the beat, I'm gonna be like, damn. I really thought black people was the only ones that did it. There really was a Jamaican scene, hip hop scene in Kingston in 1973. Damn. That's how you get me. But that's because I know that that's the way to get to me, to prove me wrong. I make sure when I talk to y'all, and I will be wrong sometimes. I know I'll be wrong sometimes. I'm not gonna always be right. But you guys have looked me up enough to know that when I bring you information, you can verify it. So that's why y'all gave me that title. You know what I mean? What's up, Big Lee? Yeah, so not really, not Spud McKinsey. They don't come from Miles Davis. They come from Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong is the person that really busted, that made improvisation popular. Jazz was always structured. Buddy Bolden style jazz was structured. Scott Joplin's ragtime was structured. The songs went a certain way in jazz. When they played their parts in the early Jelly Roll Morton days and in the Buddy Bolden days, that each song had its assigned parts. Louis Armstrong was the one that came in saying, fuck that shit. Y'all go ahead and play something. And they put together, the band to put together a song. Then here comes Louis Armstrong with that powerful, with that loud, powerful, bold. We don't know how important Louis Armstrong is to music. Louis Armstrong is the godfather of black music. And I'm telling y'all this, personally, I don't like a lot of Louis Armstrong music. I don't listen to a lot of Louis Armstrong. I'm just getting that out the way because I'm the kind of person that can speak highly of somebody I don't personally like their music that much. My personal feelings has nothing to do with the information I bring you guys. There are people I love that I know their music is like, but I love that song, or I love that album that they did, or something like that. I'm not the biggest fan of Louis Armstrong's music. It's that style, it's that New Orleans style that, Quan, you probably like it. I know you New Orleans niggas like it. I don't like it. And I don't apologize for saying that. I don't like it. But Louis Armstrong is the godfather of popular music. And he didn't get his first #1 record until 44 years into his career. But when Louis Armstrong busted on the scene in 1920, he revolutionized, because before Louis Armstrong, the cornet was the instrument. Louis Armstrong made the trumpet the instrument that it is. When you listen around the world, when you listen to people playing the trumpet wasn't the feature instrument. People don't understand that shit. The trumpet was not a feature instrument. It was the cornet. Louis Armstrong made the trumpet the feature. It took the cornet out. Buddy Bolden played the cornet. That was the horn of the world at the time. Louis Armstrong turned the trumpet into the feature horn. Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong. He brought in the improvisation and popularized it. He made it a standard for jazz, for the feature instrument to improv over top. Not only did his trumpet play was so strong in the structure of it, it influenced the vocals, the bass, and the keyboard, the piano. Louis Armstrong's singing style, his way of singing and phrasing, even though he had that gravelly voice, that's how he sounded. Pops. It's the reason why they named the whole airport after that black man. That's the godfather of music, all popular music. He formatted the current way of singing. His trumpet and his singing prowess was so revolutionary. It changed the way, and then that's after Louis Armstrong, you get Fats Waller. Fats Waller revolutionized when he brought in stride piano. He revolutionized how the piano was played. But Fats Waller said that his style of piano play was influenced by Louis Armstrong's trumpet play. So through Louis Armstrong's trumpet play, you get Fats Waller. And he brings in, for these Jamaicans like to talk about toasting, Fats Waller is the precursor to R&B. And he also has like comical music. Like his style of music was very comical and theatrical. He had jokes in his music. If you go back and watch Stormy Weather, that scene with Cab Calloway doing Jump and Jive, and then the two brothers, the Nicholas brothers, doing that dance routine, that's Fats Waller on the piano right before he died. He died, that movie came out in 1943. Fats Waller died in 1943. But if you see the piano player, you see him kind of like playing the piano, and I wish I was on my computer, I'll show it to you. But go watch Stormy Weather, the video with Jump and Jive with Cab Calloway. You see the way the dude's playing the piano. You see he's kind of like joking. He's kind of like fucking around. The way he's flopping his wrist, he's literally clowning. And that's who Fats Waller was. Fats Waller, when he played the piano, like these motherfuckers are lucky they ain't that much video of Fats Waller playing the piano. He would play with it in a very comical way. But he played the most complicated rhythms with his piano. But he would do it so funny. And he would make jokes with his songs. And he was a precursor to rock and roll. Influenced by Louis Armstrong. Everybody in the world, then you get Coleman Hawkins. And then Lester Young, because people forget. The saxophone was a complementary instrument. It wasn't a feature instrument until Coleman Hawkins. Not Coleman Hawkins. I'm dyslexic right now. Not Coleman. Is it Coleman Hawkins? I just finished smoking my second blunt, so don't hold me on it. But I can tell you number two. Number two was Lester Young. Number one, was it Coleman Hawkins? God damn it. I'm on my phone, so I can't check. Damn it. Well, anyway, Lester Young did make the tenor saxophone a feature instrument. Lester Young was in the Count Basie band. Influenced by who? Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong influenced not only other instruments, but singing. And his style is the style that we use today. And the trumpet, Louis Armstrong stayed the standard bearer of the trumpet until Dizzy Gillespie came along and redefined the trumpet. That's how the evolution of the trumpet goes. It goes Louis Armstrong, then Dizzy Gillespie. And then, what up, man? Dizzy Gillespie created bebop, but he also created salsa, bossa nova, Latin jazz. He's the father to the world. Dizzy revolutionized the world with his trumpet play. And then Dizzy was a standard bearer until Miles Davis. my favorite trumpet player post Miles Davis is Roy Hargrove, but he passed away a few years ago. Roy Hargrove. So my favorite live trumpet player is probably Christian Scott, out of New Orleans, by the way. It always gets back to New Orleans. New Orleans, y'all some cold motherfuckers on them instruments. It always somehow comes back to New Orleans. The dopest trumpet player right now in the world, Christian Scott and Tunde, is from New Orleans. So, I like the way New Orleans people take it. When it comes to bragging rights over music, New Orleans got New York beat 10-1. And that's being light. But a lot of cities got New York beat. You know? I personally think Philadelphia got New York beat for what they did with soul music. Because without that soul music out of Philadelphia, hip-hop out of New York don't have a leg to stand on. Without that funk music out of Ohio, hip-hop out of the West Coast don't have a leg to stand on. Without that soul out of Detroit and Chicago, Midwest rap ain't got a leg to stand on. You dig? See how that works? You see how that works? Without that soul coming out of Memphis, none of the South, Atlanta, wouldn't have a leg to stand on. Because Memphis is another one of them cities, man. Memphis, y'all some, I don't know if anybody from Memphis is in here. If you from Memphis and you watch later, just hit the number 1. Salute to Memphis. Y'all got some soulful motherfuckers out of Memphis, boy. Isaac Hayes, Porter, Maurice White. Memphis got some. And Memphis don't brag. Memphis ain't tripping. Memphis got all that soul. Ooh, Memphis got some soul. Chicago, Curtis Mayfield, nigga. That I don't even look. If you know music and you say and I say the name Curtis Mayfield, I shouldn't have to ever say another name. Chicago was where the majority of the recording was done in the 60s. People don't know that. The powerhouse when it came to recording in the 60s for R&B outside of Detroit, like R&B and blues, was Chicago. Chicago probably had in the 60s. Chicago was just as big, as far as overall recording, was bigger than Detroit. Detroit just had Motown. It just had Motown, which is bigger than everything. Motown was just bigger than life. But Chicago had Chess Records. They had the Curtis Mayfield thing. And Chicago is where most of your jingles were recorded for commercials. TV commercial jingles were mostly recorded in Chicago during the 60s. The recording scene shifted from Chicago to LA in the 70s. See, LA didn't really get a stronghold. LA always had recording. It's always been recording here. There's never not been music recording here. But LA didn't become a powerhouse in the music recording industry until the 70s. People don't know that. The Motown moved to LA in 69, 1970. What's that name? Columbia Records moved to LA. Capitol Records moved to LA. Capitol Records have been here, but they have moved more of their headquarters here. The whole Chicago recording industry for the TV commercial jingles, all that shit moved to LA. And LA became a powerhouse in the 70s. Like I said, LA's always had recording, but it became a power VJ Records was in Chicago. That's when they had the Beatles, the black-owned VJ Records. He came to LA and LA owned it, mastered the recording from the 80s to the 70s, 80s, 90s. Now Atlanta is where a lot of black music is recorded. But it's funny because Atlanta doesn't really have a major black music tradition. Like as far as Atlanta never really had much impact on the nation musically during the time our music was being developed. You know? That's funny because Memphis though. Yeah. So yeah. We can really talk about black music in multiple areas. There are small distinct differences in nuances. Tempos are a little different, grooves are a little different, but it can still fit under one umbrella of soul music or rap music. Like when we look at the soul era of the 70s, you had funk, you still had your doo-wop going on with the Spinners and the Ozzy Brothers. You had your, I don't know what the fuck Earth and Fire was doing. Earth and Fire was doing some shit that hadn't been done before and ain't been done since. You had the Parliament, what they was doing, that was different than what Al Green was doing. That was different than what Marvin Gaye was doing, which was different than Teddy Pendergrass. It was so diverse. The Philadelphia sound, what Gamble and Huff and Thom Bell was doing, was a little bit different than what Curtis Mayfield was doing in Chicago when she was with. See, you hear Gladys Knight with Motown? Gladys Knight was cool with Motown, heard it through the grapevine. And Gladys Knight and the Pips, they were cool with Motown in Detroit. But Gladys Knight and the Pips, they didn't come into their own until they got with Curtis Mayfield. Add a little sugar, honeysuckle lamb. Man, shit. These are the makings of you. I love that shit. Like Claudine soundtrack, that's Curtis Mayfield. And listen to how inspirational and uplifting that music is. Just listen to it. It feels so good. Make yours a happy home. Do, 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 do. We can do it. We can do it now, baby. That's some inspirational shit right there. Make yours a happy home. That's Curtis Mayfield. Nigga. But that was different than the Isley Brothers. The Isley Brothers were with Motown, too. They were with Motown when they did Shake It Up. That was Isley Brothers with Motown. But it wasn't until the Isley Brothers had they had to kind of sit the band on pause because of the war. But it wasn't until they got with their cousin Jasper. And it was the Isley Brothers, but one of them was the cousin. Well, the cousin was the producer, and he was really the glue that made the Isley Brothers take off in the 70s. Because you hear the Isley Brothers are distinctly different with Motown, This Old Heart of Mine. This old heart of mine. But when they got with their cousin Jasper, that's when you get In Between the Sheets, Voyage to Atlantis. Jasper's last album with the Isley Brothers was Every Day's a Holiday. I Once Had Your Lovin' and I Can't Let Go. If you notice, that was really the last of the Isley Brothers run, and after that, the Isley Brothers kind of fell off because they broke up. But that run from when Jasper was with the Isley Brothers, man, That goes to show you sometimes it isn't the record label, it's you. The Isley Brothers were cool with Motown, but Motown didn't know what to do with the Isley Brothers. But their cousin did. As soon as they hooked up with their cousin, hooked up with family, take off. Motown didn't know what to do with the Spinners. The Spinners were at Motown. Parliament was at Motown. Yes, the original Parliament singers. The Spinners, they all were signed with Motown at one point. Didn't work out. It wasn't until George Clinton hooked up with this cat out of Ohio named Bootsy Collins. And the young kids that used to sweep up his barbershop, Eddie Hazel and Bernie Royale, and Bootsy Collins and Frank Cashwady on drums and Catfish Collins on guitar. When that crew merged up with George Clinton, they did some shit Motown couldn't fuck with. They changed music. So oftentimes, why am I going on this little bullshit ass tangent? You gotta believe in yourself and do it your way. And that's something that we as black people, we have so much talent. Some people needed the machine of Motown. One of my favorite doo-wop groups of all time is the Four Tops. The Four Tops had a couple of nice hits away from Motown. Ain't No Woman Like the One That I Got, and That's the Way Nature Planned It. Those are two dope songs they had away from Motown. But they were at their best with Motown, you know? But then you get a band like the Spinners. Motown didn't know what the fuck to do with the Spinners. They leave, nigga. Come out with that games people play. Right, wrong, you just can't stop it. Nigga, Motown couldn't do nothing with that. That's how much talent we have. We so goddamn good. We got groups that Motown couldn't fuck with. And Motown's like world renowned, the greatest label of all time. But we as black Americans, the people who created hip hop, we got so much talent. People don't even know that the Spinners were the highest selling doo-wop band of the 70s. The Spinners outsold the Isley Brothers. People don't even understand that. Yes, the Spinners outsold the Isley Brothers in the 70s. You had the Manhattans. You had the Delphonics, the Temprees, New Birth. I'm not even getting into the bands. This is black America when we on the record labels, the creators of hip hop. Because if you want to understand the creation and the origin of something, you got to understand the environment that it's created in. If we look at a tree, we plant a tree. Before I plant this tree, I gotta look down. Is it sand? Trees can't grow in sand. Is this clay? If it's clay, I gotta look at what kind of clay it is. Because certain clays, trees can't grow with certain clays. If I'm going, I gotta look at the environment and decide, is this the best environment? Oh, this is a street, it's pavement. I can't grow a tree on pavement. Yeah, it sounds like a simple question to ask. You think, duh, of course you can't grow a tree on pavement. But what if somebody don't know any better and all they hear is you have to drop seeds to grow a tree? But they don't know anything about environment. So they spend their lives dropping seeds on sand and sidewalks, dropping seeds in quicksand, or they're dropping it on dirt, but they don't know to water it. They don't know it needs water. You're in a desert, or you're in an environment that doesn't. You're gonna need to put these seeds in the right environment for it to grow. But the only way I'm going to understand where to put these seeds is to understand the environment. So when we talk about the seeds of hip hop, you got to understand the environment that hip hop was cultivated in. Again, we're going back to science. You go back to science. I'm not a scientist, but I do understand basic things like cultivation. You have to, in order to cultivate something, you have to put it in the right environment. They found when they created that biodome in Arizona, there's a biodome just outside of Tucson. In that biodome, they wanted to create like a city that was independent of all outside resources. It could only use what it produced within that biodome. One thing they found out and realized in that biodome was they couldn't grow trees. And the scientists of that biodome was where they were confused. And you can look this up. I'm not telling you anything that you can't look up yourself. I only learned this story because I read about it. I think this is like in Newsweek back in like in the 2000s. Or about, I think it was either News, one of the fucking magazines. Newsweek, National Geographic. I'm dyslexic, shit. I don't know. Anyway, you can look the shit up. The biodome in Tucson, Arizona. They were trying to figure out why couldn't they grow trees. Then they realized you can plant the seeds, you can water the seeds, you can create a good environment for it, but the only way a tree's gonna grow is with wind. Trees cannot grow without wind. Why am I saying that? We're talking about creation and contribution. The creation of the tree that we call hip hop, the environment that it's rooted in is amongst other trees. And it's the smallest of the tree. It's the youngest of the tree, I should say. It's bigger now, but it's the youngest of the tree. And all of these trees at some point shared domination. Well, not all of them, but most of these trees at some point shared domination of the globe. At one point, the arranged quartets shared the domination of the globe musically. Dr. Randy Short broke that down on my YouTube, on my Twitter space. I broke it down on previous shows too. The environment is ragtime of the 1880s, 1890s, was the music of the world. That's all of us in this environment. That's all shared by this one common soil here in North America against a subjugated people known as the Black American. In this environment, you have the blues, Robert Johnson, Petey Wheatstraw, some of the most popular music of the world, Howlin' Wolf, Albert King, Muddy Waters. Muddy Waters revolutionized the world on the guitar. Do you guys know the wah-wah pedal that they have in the guitar? That was the white man's invention to try to keep up with Muddy Waters, because Muddy Waters can wah-wah guitar without a fucking pedal. I appreciate that, Amara Woods. Do you know that that wah-wah pedal was created? And this is verified by Mr. Bobby Rush when I interviewed him. The wah-wah pedal was created so the white boy can keep up with the sound that guitar, on that guitar that Muddy Waters was making without that fucking pedal. That's where you get Eric Clapton out of Muddy Waters. That's where you get the Beatles. That's where you get the Rolling Stones out of Muddy Waters, out of Chess Records, Howlin' Wolf. That's where they come from. Revolutionized the world in the 50s. revolutionized the world in the 30s with swing. Louis Armstrong made the world switch to the trumpet. That was Louis Armstrong that did that, one black man. Duke Ellington, Count Basie showed the world the supreme class of the black man. Look at how clean them brothers used to dress. And listen to how clean their music sound. Go and listen to 5 O'Clock Jump from Count Basie, or Take the A Train from from Ellington. You feel like you need a listen to Corner Pocket from Count Basie. It sound like you in a pool hall. During World War II, the Nazis were listening to so much jazz, Hitler had to ban jazz. And when the Nazis wouldn't stop listening to jazz, he had to create a white band named the Ghetto Boys to play and basically sample Duke Ellington and Count Basie's music. He said, okay, I can't stop these white boys from listening to this shit, so I'm gonna create a white face to it. We been doing this, nigga. Motown revolutionized the world. Disco revolutionized the world. Soul music, R&B is still revolutionizing the world. That's why K-pop is the biggest genre right now. That's the environment that hip-hop was created in. Creation versus contribution. I don't need to look at your environment, because y'all only got 2 or 3 genres that you play in your little island or wherever, and the only people that listen to that is you. And Americans, when we go on vacation, hell yeah, we want to hear you play your goddamn calypso or merengue when we go out there. We can get back to Ice Cube. All right, go ahead and play. I'm at this little luau and shit. Y'all roasting the pig. Oh yeah, play a little bullshit ass music. We're gonna have a good time. We don't mind that, because we know when we get home, we got 15,000 niggas we want to listen to. Environment. What does your environment produce that changed the world music in the last 100 years? What? And you have good music. Look, y'all be safe. Those of you who follow me on Instagram and Twitter, where am I like almost every Saturday? I'm at Latin Jazz Saturdays. This past Saturday, they had music out of Colombia featured. Nigga, I'm not just talking about it. I love Latin jazz. I love that shit. I can't wait to Chucho Valdez night at the Hollywood Bowl. I got my box seat, nigga. 14th row. And if anything opens up in the garden closer to row 5 or 6, I'm gonna upgrade and get those tickets. You talking to somebody who love that shit. I love Celia Cruz. I love me some Celia Cruz. I love Tito Puente. I love that motherfucker. I love Sergio Mendes. I've seen Sergio Mendes play live at least 10 times. Because he comes to LA like every year, and I usually see him every other year that he comes. So yeah, I've seen Sergio Mendes live at least 10 times. I'm the nigga that listens to this shit. So I know that music, and I know where it's influenced from, and I know what it's influencing. That environment is not creating music that the rest of the world wants to consume. As good as the music is, the rest of the world ain't following that suit. They following here. So in conclusion, when I look at the environment, when I look at the circumstantial evidence, when I listen to the first-hand stories, everything comes back to one thing. Hip-hop is completely 100% a Black American art form. Period, point blank, no discussion about it. Yes, Caribbeans, Latinos have made contributions. But just like my contribution to YouTube, YouTube is going to be a multi-billion-dollar business whether I decide to join this motherfucker or not. Same with your contributions to hip-hop. This thing called hip-hop had everything that it needed. Black American culture. That's all it ever needs. Your contributions are cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No disrespect. Thank you. But it's a contribution, not a creation. And this house called hip-hop is getting built regardless of your contribution. Because we've built plenty of these tall, high-rise motherfucking houses. And hip-hop is just the latest, but it ain't the last. And if you made hip-hop, okay, then make another one. Since you niggas like riding Jay-Z's dick so much, okay, y'all said y'all made hip-hop. Okay, make another one. We can show you where we made another one. Country Western, EDM. We can go down the line. We're the fathers of reggae, of ska. We've created cool jazz, avant-garde jazz. All of it. What's up, Melanated Brown? So we gotta know and have a full analytical view of this whole situation. And I dare any PhD scholar to debate me on any of this shit. I dare any artist, rapper, producer who think I'm bullshitting, try me. All right? That'll be very fun. And I'm about to get the fuck up out of here. I've been on with y'all 2 hours earlier now, 2 hours again. Shit, I plan on it. My plan was only talk to you niggas for like 45 minutes. I done smoked 2 blunts, had a half bottle of wine. I'm parched. Schedule your reading. You dig? I'll holler at y'all.